A popular psychological myth is that some people are more left-brain oriented while others are more right-brained. In other words, our personality is influenced by our dominant hemisphere, with the logical, analytical people being left-brain oriented and the creative, artistic people being right-brained. This myth originated due in part to the research Dr. Roger Sperry performed. While his experiments didn't bring about the thought of left versus right brain, people took his research and twisted it to make it seem as though the two sides of the brain were defining one's personality. It's no secret that the left hemisphere deals more with language and logic we do every day, and that the right deals more with emotions and sensing. This allowed many pseudo-psychologists to create their platform. If you were more sensitive and relied on emotion, you were right brain oriented, and if you were more logical, you were left brain oriented. However, there are a plethora of online quizzes that you can take, and based on the answers you provide, they categorize you into one of the two groups. Ploys like these only persuade more and more people that this myth is in fact a reality. The first person I interviewed on whether or not they believe in the myth does. He bases his beliefs on the fact that that was the way he grew up. His teachers humored the thought that the division between the lobes created personality and behavioral differences. Even his parents made him do extracurricular activities throughout his childhood in order to train him to become more right-brain oriented, hoping that it would help his creativity and imagination. The second person does not believe in the myth. They don't believe in the myth because there's no way that the functions such as language and art and imagination are bound to one side of the brain while the other sits idly by. He took psychology over the summer at a local community college, but they didn't go over the myths of psychology. However, they did emphasize that the lobes do the same thing, although one might do it better than the other, which is why the one picks up on the task at hand first. My third person believes that people don't tend to be one or the other, whereas they exemplify characteristics of both. He too heard this in a class, however it wasn't a psychology-specific one. Like the second reference, he understands cognitively that the two cannot simply be divided, and they don't work with each other. This myth was publicized in 1973 with an article in the New York Times rightly titled, "We Are Left-Brained or Right-Brained," with a subtle subtitle of "Two Astonishingly Different People Inhabit Our Heads." This thought of two different persons resulted from Dr. Gazinga's research in which he studied split brain patients and how he noticed that as a result of the corpus callosum being cut further, disconnected the communication between the two hemispheres. The right and the left hemisphere functioned as if they had no notion the other side existed. As a whole, all research done on this subject shows that one hemisphere shows superiority in tasks, not that one does it better than the other. As said in the 50 Great Myths of Popular Psychology book, the left and right hemisphere are relatively better at different mental activities. This is why people tend to believe that the myth, however, is really only explaining that while both are involved in the task, one hemisphere is quicker at processing the information, so it picks up on the task first. It is not the case that the left hemisphere is associated with logic or reasoning more than the right, and that creativity is no more processed in the right than the left. It only furthers the fact that while one is superior, tasks are still processed in both hemispheres. Conclusively, it should not be whether people are left or right-brained. It should be presented as one's dominant brain is dependent on which side is superior in performing the task at hand.